Hello, I am here to teach you the natural skills of algebra. You will soon learn how to body slam the radical question, and soon you will be victorious and be an overcomer and a champion in natural algebra. Just kidding, it's me. I know you probably didn't know who it was, but it was me, the man behind the mask. Alright, so if you remember last week, we ended up by doing what we called eliminating or rationalizing that denominator. Alright, and if you remember, we started out with things like this, the square root of 9 over 64, which meant the square root of 9 over the square root of 64. Square root of 9 is 3. 64 is 8. All right, so we were able to solve that. And then if you remember, we then had some questions where it wasn't quite that easy, and we had to eliminate the denominator, all right, such as 5 over the square root of 3. All right, 5 over the square root of 3. Now, there is no square root of 3, so we have to eliminate that. So what we did was we multiplied by the square root of 3. But what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Now, that would give you the square root of 9. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9. Then up at the top, you'd have 5 times the square root of 3. The square root of 9 is 3, and then 5 times the square root of 3 over 3 would have been the answer. All right? So we're able to eliminate, I'm covering the answer, we're able to eliminate the denominator that is irrational. All right? So now we're going to go over to page 292. All right, page 292. Did pretty good on your homework that I graded the previous week. Well done for the most part. There's a couple things we didn't get, but I think it looked like mostly careless mistakes. So I think we're good, but I'll monitor that. Your test was pretty good, so I think we're doing all right. All right. So we're going to look at rationalizing two-term denominators. Now, if you remember, when you do the FOIL method, the outer and the inner will eliminate. Like x plus 4, when you multiply it by, remember this word, conjugate, which means it's the same thing except the sign's different. So x plus 4 times x minus 4. All right, then we know that when we multiply that, we would get x squared on the first terms. Outer would give me a negative 4x, inner a positive 4x, and the last a negative 16. And then what happens to the outer and inner, because it's a conjugate, what happens? It eliminates, all right? It gets rid of it, okay? So the answer to this would be x squared minus 16. Now, keeping that in mind, that when you multiply by a conjugate, all right, that it eliminates, you can use that when you're dealing with your denominators. When you have a binomial, just like this right here is two binomials being multiplied, you can also multiply a denominator, binomial, that's a radical, to eliminate it. There's a whole lot of reading about that, but not much. I shouldn't say a whole lot. There's very little, actually, on page 292, because you just got to do it and see it. So look at page 293, and let's look at the example up at the top on 293. It says 5 over 3 minus the square root of 2. So 5 over 3 minus the square root of 2. Now, before I get into that, do you remember how we actually FOILed some of these the other day? All right, like if I had, I'll just do this one right here. 3 minus the square root of 2 times 3 minus the square root of 2. Okay, so when we can FOIL that, and so the first terms would give me 9. The outer would give me a negative 3 square root of 2. Inner would give me a negative 3 square root of 2. And the last would give me a positive square root of 4. Everybody following that? All right, so first outer, inner, last. Now you can put the outer and the inner together. So in this case, I'd have 9. Negative 3 square root of 2, negative 3 would be negative 6 square root of 2. The square root of 4 is 2. 9 plus 2 is 11 minus 6, the square root of 2. All right, so we're able to solve that. Now, keeping that in mind, you can get rid of a binomial denominator by multiplying it by its conjugate. Now, there's some big words, all right? But you're able to eliminate this by following those simple steps with huge words, okay? So 5 over 3 minus the square root of 2. I have to get rid of you can't have a denominator with a radical in it. So to eliminate it, I'm going to multiply it by its conjugate, which would be 3 plus the square root of 2. Following that? Because we're going to FOIL it and eliminate the outer and inner. You'll see. But what I do down there, I got to do it at the top. So 5 times 3 plus the square root of 2. Now, let's go ahead and multiply these. Let's do the bottom first. We'll do the top first. All right. Here's just distribution. So that's pretty easy. All right. I should have put that 5 there. 5 times that would be, if I write it all out, it'd be 15 plus 5 square root of 2. All right. 5 times 3 and 5 times the square root of 2. Down here, if I FOIL it, my first terms, 3 times 3 is 9. My outer would be a positive 3 square root of 2. My inner would be a negative 3 square root of 2. And my last would be a negative square root of 4. Watch what happens. All right, because they're conjugates, the outer and the inner eliminate themselves. 3 square root of 2 minus 3 is gone, which leaves with 9 minus, what's the square root of 4? 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. So now I have 15 plus 5 square root of 2 over 7. And that's the answer. All right? So we eliminated that denominator. So it looks like, what? But it's really simple. So when I tell you that you're eliminating the radical by multiplying by its conjugate, it sounds really hard. But really, you just multiply by its opposite binomial, 2 terms, and you'll eliminate the radical. Pretty cool. Or it's pretty radical. All right, so let's jump down there and let's actually do one of these. Let's go down to number 1. All right, number 1, just going to do a few of these. Then I'm going to give you a few to do tonight, not many. Then I'm going to review for a quiz, which is tomorrow, which will be your Tuesday work. All right, but the quiz tomorrow, which will be over 8.4 to 8.6. All right, which I'm not going to let you use your books again. No book. All right, but I'll review it with you. All right, so let's do the first one. Number 1 says 4 over 2 minus the square root of 3. So 4 over 2 minus the square root of 3. Now, I have to get rid of that radical on the denominator. So in order to do that, I'm going to multiply it by its what? Big word, starts with a C. Conjugate. All right, so I multiply it by its conjugate, which would be, so I'm going to multiply it times 2 plus the square root of 3. But whatever I multiply there, I'm going to multiply up here too. All right, so let's do the top, which is going to be basically distribution, which will give me 8 plus 4 square root of 3 over. On the bottom, let's do FOILing here. All right, just look at it like FOILing. 2 times 2 is 4. My outer would give me plus 2 square root of 3. Minus 2 square root of 3 is my inner, and then minus the square root of 9. All right, so we did first, outer, inner, last. And then you just put together this outer and your inner part. 2 square root of 3, negative 2 is gone. That's the whole point of a conjugate. It gets rid of that. All right, so we're left with 4 minus, what is the square root of 9? 3, which is 1. So the answer is 8 plus 4 square root of 3 over 1, or you could just put 8 plus 4 square root of 3, because anything over 1 is itself. You're welcome for that bell. All right, so that isn't too difficult. All right, let's jump over there to number 3. Let's do number 3 real quick. Let's do a couple of these real quick. Number 3 states the square root of 3 over 4 plus the square root of 6. Square root of 3 over 4 plus the square root of 6. All right, so I can't work out the square root of 3 yet, so we're just going to leave it. So we're going to multiply the conjugate here. So we're going to multiply it times 4 minus the square root of 6. We're going to do the same thing up here. All right, now watch closely. Let's do the top first. A little distribution. square root of 3 times 4 is 4 square root of 3. 3 times negative square root of 6, it would be negative square root of 18. 3 times 6 is 18. All right? Then we go down here, and we do our first terms. 4 times 4 is 16. Can you start doing this with me in our heads? Be a negative 4, positive 4. It eliminates it. We're good there? All right, if you want to write it out, you can, but it always eliminates the outer and inner if you do it right. Our last terms is going to be negative square root of 36. Now, the net square root of 36 would be, right over here. So I have 16 minus 6, because the square root of 36 is 6. All right? Over here, I have 4 square root of 3 minus, now we're going to have to, we can't just stop. We have to see if we can, remember what we did last week, is there a perfect square root factor? I have 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 6 times 3. 2 times 9 should jump out you, because 9 is a perfect square. So if I did 2 times 9, all right, the square root of 9 is 3, and I'm left with a 2. So the answer to that one is 4 square root of 3 minus 3 square root of 2 over 10. Now, again, this is one of those things, you're just like, what's the point of all this? They're teaching you step by step to put it all together to solve big questions. So it's important you get these smaller steps, okay? So please pay close attention. Let's jump down there and do one of the harder ones. Then I'll review for your quiz. I'll pick number, no, random one here. Let's do number, I just want to show this. On number 14, you see that's negative. Just ignore the negative till the end of the question, then just leave the answer negative, just like it starts out. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. Let's do number 15. Well, that one might not. Let's do 12. That one looks a little more confusing. 12, we have 3 minus 4 square root of 2. All right, so 3 minus 4 square root of 2 over 5 minus 3 square root of 2. 5 minus 3 square root of 2. Got that right? Good. All right, so again, to solve the question, you're going to have to eliminate the rational in the denominator by multiplying it by its conjugate. All right, so I'm going to multiply this 5 plus 3 square root of 2, which I'm going to have to go up here too. 5 plus 3 square root of 2. Good. All right, so now we're going to FOIL both of these. All right, so we have 2 FOIL problems. Let's do the bottom first because it's going to be easier. All right, so at the bottom, 5 times 5 is 25. My outer and inner will eliminate itself. I'm going to end up with a 15 square root of 2 and a negative 15, so it's gone. So the last terms is all I got to worry about here. Negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 3 is 9 square root of 4. All right, did we follow that? So I'll stop there. Let's do the top. Now this one, I'm not going to eliminate. All right, so we do the first terms. 3 times 5 is 15. My outer will be 3 times 3 square root of 2, which would be 9 square root of 2. My inner would be a negative 20 square root of 2. And my last would be a negative 12 square root of 4. All right? That's a big, long answer, but we can put some things together, okay? So, probably be best for me to write it over here. All right, let's do the top here. I know I can put together a 9 square root of 2 and a negative 20. So a 9 square root of 2 and a negative 20 square root of 2 is going to give me a negative 11 square root of 2. So I have 15 negative 11 square root of 2 minus, now, what is the square root of 4? 2. So minus 12 times 2. Now, we can go ahead and, I'm just going to write right underneath of it. So I have 15 minus 11 square root of 2 minus 12 times 2 is 24. 15 minus 24 is a negative, what would it be, 9? 9 negative 11 square root of 2. All right, so we're good there. All right, so we got that. Over, now we got to worry about the bottom. All right, so we took care of the top. And again, if you didn't quite follow every step, just kind of go back. I put these together because they're like terms. And then I was able to solve the square root of 4, which made these both just regular constants, numbers. All right, and then I was able to put it all together. Now, down here, I have 25, negative 9, square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? 2. So I have 25 minus 9 times 2, because I was able to solve that. 9 times 2 is 18. So 25 minus 18 is 7. All right, so there's your answer. All right, so negative 9, minus 11, square root of 2 over 7. You can, if you want to, just for future reference. You could, if you don't want to start with a negative, because sometimes we don't like starting with negatives, you could just bring the negative on the outside, which changes all the signs on the top. You can do that if you want, but for now it doesn't matter. So just so you can do it. All right? So it's just a matter of foiling, and then, just taking close attention to where you're at. All right, so it shouldn't be too awful bad. I do want you to do numbers 1 through 18. All right, we've done a few of them, so do 1 through 18 on page 293, and just do your best there. You're gonna do a lot of foiling, and just keep everything in order, and you should be fine. All right. Now, if you want to get out a piece of paper, I'm gonna review for you for a quiz. I'm gonna say tomorrow, all right, but obviously I don't care. You can take it whenever this week, but this will basically be one of your lessons here, all right? But it's going to be quiz number 26, which I will send home. I know it was on the back of that one, but I'm just going to send it back. All right, but quiz number 26, and if you looked ahead, you might have been able to study a little bit on your own, all right? But it's going to have some true and false questions. It's going to ask you like they have 5 minus the square root of 2. What would the conjugate be to that? Which would be 5 plus the square root of 2. So know what a conjugate is, all right? Then they have another true or false question. They're going to have a question that will ask you, like, what does this reduce down to? So, like, if I had... So if I had the negative cubed root of 27. All right, let's just do the cubed root of negative 27. All right, the cubed root of negative 27. So what multiplied by itself 3 times gives you 27. All right, since it's a cubed root, we can have a negative because it's 3 times. So what multiplied by itself 3 times is 27? It's 3. All right, so it would be 3. Since it is a cubed root, it would be negative 3. So they'll have a question like that. Then they'll have another true and false question. It says, before 2 radicals are multiplied, they must have the same what? So before 2 radicals. So if you're going to multiply 2 radicals, like positive 4 and 4, all right? I can multiply. It doesn't matter what the radicand is. If that was a 2, I can multiply them. The thing that matters is that the indexes have to be the same. So in that case, they are, because it's understood 2. If the indexes would have been like the cubed root of 4 times the square root of 4, I cannot multiply that because the indexes are not the same. So then they got some questions. Basically some questions like we've been working on. You're going to be multiplying. They multiply some radicals like on a previous lesson. And one of them's a FOIL, one's a distribution, and one is just multiplying. Make sure you simplify it down to its lowest. And then they have a couple like we did last week with the division, making the top and the bottom a radical, and what we just did today. So, all right, so it's over lessons 8.4 to 8.6. Most of the thing is about solving those questions that you study on 8.4 to 8.6. So just look back at the questions, make sure you're able to do it. And then there's a few true and false, which I gave you those questions. I changed some of the things to make it not so simple, but there you go. All right, so that will be your lesson for Monday. And then Tuesday, I'm scheduled a quiz, and then I'll make 2 more videos for the week. All right, and then we'll wrap up this chapter. All right, you have a wonderful day.